Let's begin here at the South. The Wits School of Governance is hosting a series of dialogues to address key issues around the 2024 elections. The purpose of this series is to provide a comprehensive assessment of the meaning and implications of the 2024 elections through multiple lenses. Today, President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke at the dialogues, and let's talk more about this now. We're joined by SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, thank you so much for your time. I mean, what is the importance? Let's just start there of these particular dialogues.
These particular discussions are aimed at unpacking the impact of elections, particularly in the SADC region. As you are aware that a number of countries will be going to elections this year, and that will affect in terms of what's happening on the continent, the economy, the issues of security, and of course by extension it will also contribute to the perceptions around the African continent. And yesterday it started with academics looking at those issues. Of course they differed in terms of how important are the South African elections, particularly when you look at the relationship between South Africa and other countries, and many people saying that South Africa is a strategic country on the continent for other regions. Perhaps let's take a listen at what the professor had to say about South Africa in the context of elections in the SADC region and the continent.
South Africa has got a GDP of over 400 billion dollars, if you were to use 2022 figures. Its population is sitting at around 60 million. And the contribution of manufacturing to its GDP in terms of the 2022 figures is around 14%. It used to be around 25 at some point, much earlier, but it has sort of declined. So on that basis, South Africa is not an ordinary country. It is there to play a key role. So on that basis, I tend to think that if we have positive elections in South Africa, they would go a long way in dispelling what I would call as negative perceptions about our region. They will go a long way in terms of trying to reinforce positive perceptions about this region, because as we are all aware, there are a lot of negative perceptions regarding the quality of our elections, the quality of governance within our region. So if we hold positive elections, I think they will have some kind of a demonstration effect on the rest of the regions. As we are aware, probably, there are a number of elections that are taking place this year. We have Namibia, we have Botswana, and I think Mozambique, which are coming this year. So if we have positive elections, I think they will play a critical role in trying to ensure that the outcome out there is quite positive as well. So on that basis, I think South Africa is not an ordinary country.
And Sophie, the issue, of course, of foreign policy is an interest to many. What did the president say?
Well, the president spoke about the issue of foreign policy in the context of what's happening right now, South Africa being under pressure in relation to its stance of taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, and also the situation in Ukraine. And the president emphasizing that they will continue, if they get elected, with the current foreign policy where they are pushing for negotiations when there are conflicts around the world, but also talking about what South Africa is doing currently in terms of the situation in Palestine, saying that they will continue to support Palestine. On the other hand, he pointed out that he is in constant communication with the leaders of the two countries, that is Russia and Ukraine, to try and find a solution, working with other leaders on the continent.
And of course, you do have that issue of the economy as well as foreign investment being quite critical as well, especially when you look at the issue of job creation. And I wonder, what did the president have to say about foreign investment?
The president said it is important to ensure that you have this foreign investment. It was in a context of the current challenges the country is facing in relation to the economy, because the current problem of the economy is leading to a situation where you can't create enough jobs. You have young people completing their studies, but when they finish, they can't get employed. And he indicated that that's a priority to strengthen the economy. And he also spoke about attracting foreign direct investment, but also investors to come to South Africa to invest in terms of manufacturing, rather than South Africa being a country that is just exporting its commodities. But how do you ensure that whatever you have in the country, you send it out as a fully finished product, so that you can get better value? Let's take a listen at what he had to say. I must say, Bongiwe, I was tempted to check who is this investor that the president is talking about, the investor who is known worldwide, who is involved in manufacturing of electric cars and also the batteries. And I suspect, I don't know, I might be wrong, you perhaps can speculate. Let's take a listen at what the president had to say on the manufacturing of cars.
We're now going to start making electric vehicles. And I was talking to another big business person in the world, and he said, Mr. President, if we can deal with the tariffs, we can come and start making electric vehicles in South Africa and create a network of charging infrastructure in the whole country. What that means is that apart from using combustion engine vehicles, we are now going to start exploding onto electric vehicles, which is now the way the world is moving. China has already embarked on that journey, and so will we, because we're a great car maker, by the way. We make vehicles that are sold in the United States, and our car making workers are even exported to countries like Germany, Germans find that our workers are more proficient in making German cars than their own workers. So we've got a great resource of well-skilled people, much as we want to increase the skills base in our country.
I have a sneaky suspicion. I really have a sneaky suspicion, but I'm not going to say. I'm just thinking about
Tesla,
X.
Perhaps? I don't know. I'm
thinking about X and a car. And Pretoria, I don't know. I'm sure the viewers can deduct what I'm trying to say there. But as we end off our conversation, South Africans abroad will be voting next week as well.
Yes, quite an important one. South Africans will be voting next week, but we have spoken to leaders of political parties to get a sense of what's going to happen. We know that many political parties in South Africa do have members abroad. We saw the last national and provincial elections because they can vote particularly for the national on the ballot that deals with people who will be going to the National Assembly. And the political parties are ready, and we will be focusing on that issue on Monday as we build up to Friday and Saturday, where countries such as the United Kingdom and America in particular will be our focus, because there you have a large number of people who will be going to the polls. And also you know that the biggest polling station in relation to South Africa is in London. And the coincident, it is Trafalgar Square at the High Commissioner's office, a place that was a center of activism pre-1994 with all those protests outside the then South African office because of those who were in exile protesting against the regime. And we are told that you have a large number of voters there, and therefore they've even requested the security to help them to close the entire Trafalgar Square so that you can have those long queues there.
All right, and of course we'll bring you all those details as they unfold, and even as the South Africans are casting their ballots there in different missions across the world, we'll bring you more on that as they go then to their own polls just next week. And of course, even now, the 29th of May, we are just 19 days to go to the elections in South Africa. That is SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena.